Okay, so our first honoree today is just one of the most amazing people that I have the absolute pleasure of knowing. But before I introduce Linda, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Mike. Mike was Linda's amazing husband. He unfortunately passed away last week, and Mike was a massive supporter of all of us, individually, together. So I just want a moment of silence for Mike and all he has done over the years with Linda to honor their son Scott's memory and really to support all the amazing things going on here. All right, so I don't really know that Linda ever needs an introduction anymore because I think everybody here knows and loves Linda. Linda is an incredibly strong individual. She turned something that nobody should ever have to go through when her son Scott was murdered in Parkland High School, sacrificing himself to save the lives of his students and to ensure that they can live a full life, because he was just an amazing person who I really wish I could have had the chance to have known. And unfortunately, because of his passing, I met Linda. And I'm glad I met Linda, but I will always say I wish the cards never aligned that we did get to meet, because that was just a horrible situation. And Linda has turned that into amazing activism to make sure that no parent ever goes through what she had to do. And not only does she fight for gun reform every day, but they started a foundation, the Scott J. Beigel Memorial Fund, which I think we have a QR code here somewhere. If not, we'll send it out again. The fund makes sure that these kids never have the ability to go in, get those guns, and commit those atrocities in underprivileged communities by funding them going to summer camp, which was something Scott loved doing every year. And it gets these kids off the street in a summer camp where they can have fun, enjoy the summer. And my favorite day every year is when we go to the park and ride outside of the Huntington train station, and we watch 50, 60, sometimes even more kids with huge smiles on their face, not wanting to talk to us as they run on that bus to go to summer camp, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or more. So we are so proud to know Linda. She's an amazing activist in this community, and we are honoring her today, and we are so excited because she's going to tell you, even if it's a little hard to see at times, the why we all do what we do and how important it is to continue this fight to make sure that nobody ever has to go through that. We saw it again in Georgia, and someday, because of all the work that Linda does and that we all do to support Linda, we're going to be able to say enough is enough and mean it. So here we go, Linda.
I'm not a candidate and I'm not a politician, so I'm going to have to read because I can't just do it off the top. But I want to thank you all. I've never done this without Mike, so bear with me. I've always said that I was never going to mourn Scott's death. I was going to celebrate his life. And I'm going to tell you, this I don't have to read, I've had the most amazing 20 years with my husband that you can imagine. So I'm not going to spend time being so sad that I don't have him. I'm just going to be really happy for those years that we were together, because we literally were a puzzle, my half and his, and when you put all the pieces to a puzzle together, you get whole. So I need to find the whole now that he's not here. So bear with me. I did write some words because I was given the honor of getting an award called the Activist of the Year. So I want to tell you a little bit about how this came about. So for those of you who don't know my story, and for those of you who have known it all too well, my son Scott J. Beigel was the teacher and cross-country coach who was shot and killed in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School massacre on February 14, 2018. He was murdered by a 19-year-old with an AR-15. Scott was hailed a hero for saving the lives of 31 of his students. He went against protocol, and instead of locking his classroom door and turning off the lights, he did the opposite. He unlocked the door, he hustled as many panicking students as he could into the classroom, and then when he was trying to close the door, the shooter appeared in the stairwell and shot Scott 6 times within 3 seconds from 5 feet away. I'm going to show you 2 pictures that I downloaded from the school's security camera. I ask you not to look away. These pictures are real, they're real life, they're not a video game, and they're not an action movie. And these pictures will be etched in my mind forever. The first picture shows the shooter actually in the stairwell, pointing at my son, and it's the last thing Scott saw before he was gunned down and murdered. The second picture that I'm gonna show you is actually when instantaneously when he's shot and he's going down. I believe these pictures need to be shown to the public. That's how we're going to get things done. I honestly believe this. They need to see what it's all about, not to just hear it. We talk about it, it's normal. This is what happened. Oh, there was just another shooting in Georgia. There's no such thing as just another shooting. Until we do more than just raise our voices, but make the media show people what it's all about, the reality, okay, and make them see it and not hear about it. It's the only way that we're gonna get things done. It cannot be normalized, and that's what it is. It's just we just had another mass shooting, we just had another shooting, and then the next day, there's something else on the news. I had the choice. I could have drawn the blankets over my head and done nothing, or I could go out and try to make a difference. I chose the latter. Before I knew it, I had become a gun safety activist. It came naturally. I found myself talking to whoever would listen, and I began having conversations with people about common sense gun safety. It became second nature to me. My mission was, and still is, to save lives from senseless and preventable gun violence. I wanted to make everyone understand, as I do. We all have the right to be safe, and we all have the right to live without fear, and these are not just words. It's just total common sense, and that's really all I have. You guys probably have great book sense and all this stuff. All I have is common sense, and it only makes sense. I want everyone to go out randomly and just ask, and this sounds ridiculous, ask somebody, do you want to be safe? Everybody says yes, 100%, I want to be safe. Do you want to live without fear? Everybody said yes, I want to live without fear. Knowing that, why are we where we are today? Why are we? Just ask that question. Please understand that all gun violence is senseless, but not all gun violence is preventable. I believe that there are two ways of trying to put an end to gun violence: legislation and education. Through legislation, we must elect gun safety advocates to the local, state, and federal government. Look at all of us here today. Words make a difference. Anyone who knows me knows that I will call up any paper, any magazine, and I will make them take out the word gun control and change it to gun safety. Gun control is a buzz phrase for the NRA and their sycophants. They dwell on the word control, and they define it as we want to take away their guns. Trump just did it the other day. We want to make sure that anyone who owns a gun is a responsible gun owner. I go around saying, I don't want to take away your guns. You can own a gun, just own it legally and be responsible. There is a difference between being active and being an activist. The fact that you are all here today shows that you are all potentially activists. Wanting alone does not effectuate change. You have to do, and I know I'm speaking to you who does, but we have to do. When somebody says to me, what can I do to help you? I want to be an activist. My question is, what do you do? What are you doing? Those are words. I want to help. I want to help. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Well, you know what? I believe in gun safety. So what do you want to do? What are you doing about it? Well, there's nothing we can do about it. I said, I beg to differ. New York State is a leader in gun safety legislation. New York leads the country in the enactment of reasonable gun safety legislation. From the SAFE Act passed in 2013, to the Red Flag Law enacted in 2019, to the Scott J. Beigel Unfinished Receiver Act passed in 2021. New York strives to protect its citizens, residents, and visitors from gun violence. The Scott J. Beigel Unfinished Receiver Act, which I am honored to have named after my son, bans the possession of ghost guns in New York. This legislation, like all gun safety legislation, saves lives. And I must tell you, years ago, when Chuck Levine, wherever you are, I bow to you, okay? when Chuck Levine said that this is what we wanted to do, very few people knew about ghost guns. We actually, a friend of mine, Scott Pavolato, and I shamed everyone in the assembly, right, in the Senate, to come on a Zoom. We actually showed them that you can go online. For anyone here who doesn't know today what a ghost gun, you can go online, you can order the parts. At that time it was under $800. I'm sure it's much cheaper today, okay? They would be delivered in 2 days to your house or wherever you wanted them with a how-to. You put them together, you drill 3 holes, and you don't have to be a carpenter. You put it together and you had a functional gun. It worked. And so this could not be. So what we did, we actually showed them. The same way I say to you, we have to show pictures, we did a show and tell. It got passed. In 2020 is when Governor Hochul signed the bill, and the Scott J. Beigel Unfinished Receiver Act was signed into law. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. It went, correct me if I'm wrong, to the last day, okay, pretty much the last minute, and had she not signed it and it not passed, it would have had to start all over again. Education of young adults like yourselves is one of the big cornerstones of fight against senseless and preventable gun violence. You and I must continue to speak to our friends, to our families, to anyone that will listen to us about the importance of gun violence protection. We must all continue to be activists. We need to be activists. Often I get asked 3 questions. Aren't you tired of banging your head against the wall and getting nothing done? Or, why do you fight when nothing seems to get done? Or, this is the best, do you really believe that we can make a difference in today's society? You bet your ass I do, okay? 6.5 years ago, along with hundreds of thousands of people, I went to Washington, D.C., and we raised our voices in unison to protest senseless and preventable gun violence. It was called March for Your Lives. We all went with one purpose, to save lives by putting an end to gun violence. Public activism can lead to concrete results. Public activism will lead to concrete results. I have been a registered voter for over 50 years. I'm old. I admit it. I'm an old Democrat. You guys are young. And I will tell you that in this 2024 election, in 59 days, is the most consequential election of my lifetime, probably in the history of our country. This country has a choice about where it will be in the future, and every one of you can have influence on what happens to the future of this country. You are the very critical part of how our country goes forward. Your job is volunteering on campaigns. I know you heard it already. All campaigns, not just those, okay, over here on Long Island. We need to go out to all places in New York, okay? And we need to get our voices heard. New York we're not a swing state, but we're considered solidly blue. We need to keep this that way. As activists, we must take another step by helping get out the votes in other swing states. We can make a difference in other swing states and swing districts. It takes persistence and perseverance. Stand up and be part of the solution. And let's face it, if you choose to sit back and do nothing, you have absolutely no right to complain. I educate about gun safety through the Scott J. Beigel Memorial Fund. This fund was created in my son's honor. The fund gives campership grants to at-risk, underserved children touched by gun violence. The children are given the opportunity to attend summer camp, summer sleepaway camp. Our goal is to show these vulnerable children and that there are alternatives to guns and gangs. Okay? I spend a good part of my summer visiting with them. I get to talk with them. We get to share. They share their experiences. They spend a good part of they actually share their stories. When you sit next to one of these campers, they share their stories. And I learn about each of them. And it's not a one-off. We actually send them from the age of 8 and we send them through their 16. They become CITs, they become counselors, they pay it forward. We have mentorships for them. I mean, we are keeping them out of the criminal justice system. Michael and I, we created the word, we prehabilitate. We keep them out of the justice system so we don't have to rehabilitate. Getting this award has more meaning to me than you can imagine. I share this honor with my husband Michael, who passed away 11 days ago. Together we were thrust into activism 6 years and 250 days ago. Activism has became part of our personas. I have spoken about gun safety and gun violence prevention at universities, college campuses, high schools, elementary schools, temples, churches, Rotary clubs, even on a stage in New York City for Broadway Speaks Out. I will continue to do all I can so no mother, no father, no sister, no brother, no coworker, no friend, no anybody that you know ever has to go through what I went through or feel the loss that I literally feel each and every day. My motto is, and I know you know it by now, we all have the right to be safe and we all have the right to live without fear. So you guys go out and get them, become activists, and anything I can do, don't tell me she's too busy, she's grieving, no, anything I can do, call on me. Okay?
Wow.